did you get started into that? Because like that's not something that's like people just know that is available to us, right? So what was your entry into grants?
Yeah, so I started because I have a child care center.
Yeah.
And we had maxed out all of our credit cards. We
Sound like
had
us.
we had used all of my personal savings account, all of my personal capital, and we were drowning.
Yeah.
And I was at the point where I was ready to close the doors, and I just needed a resource to save
Real quick, how
my
long
business.
into the business with DJ this point out of
Probably
curiosity?
about 3 years. Yeah, we were right at 3 years. And again, we had used every resource. Background is finance. I worked at a bank at that time, so I knew what to do.
Yeah.
I knew what was available for me, but I had never had the idea or even thought that I could qualify for grants.
Yeah.
So I just sat down, started applying, and my first grant was $500.
Okay.
But
Small
it was
wins
a
matter.
right, but it was a confidence
Yeah,
boost,
yeah,
right?
for
It's
sure.
like, oh,
Free
wow,
500.
yeah, I can do this.
Give me that.
You know, these companies really want to give me funding. And so it just took off from there. And I just turned it into a strategy where I was using it in my business like daily.
Yeah.
And was able to kind of scale it from there.
So let's talk about that because you use the term funding, and most of the time people always they think about conventional funding like a loan, but grants is also a form of funding. But it's like is it funding that they got to pay back, or is it funding that they could just take it and go buy a new car with?
Good question. So grant funding is debt free.
Okay,
right?
talk.
As long as you use it for what you state you're going to use it for.
You can't go buy a Rolex.
You can't go shopping.
It's for the business though.
It's
The
for
Rolex, I gotta tell
business.
Tom at my job.
You know, that's important. But you got to write that in your budget in
Right,
advance.
absolutely.
Okay. So it's as long as you use it for the business, right, and growing the business, is debt free.
Gotcha.
You don't have to repay it. There's no credit check, and it's an unlimited funding resource. So if you get $1 million in grant funding, you can go get another $1 million or $2 million
Is
in
it a
grant funding.
time bar, like
Usually, I tell entrepreneurs about 3 months to 18 months
Okay.
window. So if you have a 2025 goal that you're working on, if we're scaling the podcast in 2025, we need to be working on grant funding now for
right.
2025.
That makes sense. Yeah, because like what a lot of people like not having access to the information or even like background knowledge of being able to understand. Most people think like grant process is this strenuous process of I got this nonprofit and there's only 4 grants for the whole world and I can't get one. You know what I'm saying? So it's good to know that people is an unlimited amount. You know what I mean? So do you recommend going for like government grants versus like regular grants, or you think winning them is either or?
So I tell my community, we don't overlook any opportunities. If there's a $500 grant, we're applying for that $500 grant, but we're not limiting ourselves. We're going after the $1 million grants as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So every opportunity that you qualify for, you should take advantage of.
But I was asking for myself. Go ahead.
And I'll
get some of this free information.
and I'll relate to this from my experience, like in school. 'Cause I remember back, I was going to college. I did like applying for scholarships, and I remember people feeling like, "Dang, you gotta do this or that to get it." And I remember the person who was speaking to our class, whatever, was like, "You gotta understand, most people want to do the work it will take to get it.
Yeah.
So even if you feel like it's only a limited amount, everybody, it's like half people gonna cut themselves out because they're not even gonna do it. Like, just fill out this application. It's like,
I'll give you
I'll
an
get to it.
example
Like,
of that. So Mackenzie Scott, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, don't know if you know, but she decided that her entire divorce settlement, she was giving it back to the community. So she gives it back to nonprofits, right? So she just recently
Take my money and give it away.
Yeah,
all of it.
I'm gonna take your money. I don't want it. I'm gonna give it back to the community.
Diabolical.
So
I don't
recently-
know.
Also
That's,
good.
that's like a martyr. She going out like a martyr. She fighting for her. Like I might support that.
But she recently gave $640 million back to nonprofits, right? Only 6,000 people applied for the $640 million. Now, she divided it up between 361 nonprofits, but only 6,000 people applied.
But between
Out of this
361
whole country.
now were these her nonprofits?
No, they were not. They were
You gotta
not.
make sure they got offshore. So we're
It's a cover up.
Yeah, it's okay. I didn't make
She opened up 300 exactly nonprofits in the last year. So.
just so happily. You just got to make sure. But no, I think that even like having access to knowing those type of things is important because you said you got a background in finance. And I think that that's probably like a realm that we should navigate through because like I'm very transparent. And like one of the things, like my business has always did good, even as just like a hustlerpreneur, where like when I'm just doing services and middleman, I still knew how to make a lot of money. But one thing I always knew that I needed to improve was my money management. You know what I mean? So it's like you got to be honest with yourself as a person before you could even start to see the change. So it's like, I'm like, yo, you know what? I don't have a money making problem. I have a money spending problem. So with a background in finance, like give me some tips like on things that you feel like will help
I was just about to ask, what's some of like your greatest financial
Yeah,
tips or
so
advice?
it starts with the youth, right? And I think we all talked about it. We're all parents.
Yeah, facts.
Working at the bank, I would see often other races would bring their kids in and they would sit them down and they would have to watch them handle their finances.
Mm.
Versus our race, stay in the car, right? Stay out of
Facts.
grown folks' business,
Facts.
right? And I'm gonna bring you a dum dum. I'm gonna bring you a sucker out,
Yeah.
but you got to stay in the car.
Yeah.
So it
Shout out
starts.
to them TD Banks taffies. Like,
Add a little context.
yeah,
there.
yeah. I was like,
I used to eat the dum dums all day at work, right?
No, for sure. I definitely coming in there to get an account just for that.
yeah.
I was mad when I went in. I think Navy Federal was only pens. Like, what I'm gonna do with this?
What I'm gonna do with this,
Yeah,
right?
like, put some candy out.
But that's where it starts, right? So educating our youth about finance,
Yeah.
about the importance of just knowing how to budget your bank, knowing the options and opportunities that are there.
Yeah.
People don't know you can walk into a bank and have them review your entire portfolio. They can tell you strategies to save. They can tell you how to increase or help you with your personal credit score. We think we have to go to social
Somebody else,
media and get this information on social media, and it's right there
At
in the
your
palm
bank.
of your hand,
Yeah.
right? You're paying for a service.
Yeah.
Whether you're paying monthly fees or overdraft fees,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like. So the first thing is take advantage of the opportunity that's right there available for you, but make sure that you're educating your youth, educate your kids, bring them into the bank with you, show them you budgeting, right? Show them the mistakes that you made. Ooh, mama made an overdraft and it cost me $35. Be transparent about that so that they know when they're older what to do. So
No,
I
that's a
think it
fact.
starts there.
Because we definitely learn from what we exposed to. And like, unfortunately, a lot of us don't get exposed to that because to her point about the whole sit in the car or, mama or daddy just not having money. So it's
sure.
just like, just live, like, we was coming up on going to the check cashing place more so than it was like, I'm going to go open up this. I just learned about like I think it's a high interest savings
High yield
high yield savings account. I just learned about that. Like, and it was crazy because I'm like, you mean to
You're
tell me
welcome.
you didn't teach
I'm
me
saying,
that?
I made his life better. He won't give me the credit, bro.
No, I'll give you credit for understanding finances to a certain degree. I will give you credit. But other than that, yeah, it's a bad individual.
Fair, no value.
Definitely
like-
teach my community about high yield savings. I think that's a super important
It's
strategy.
a gem.
It's a
Easy
gem.
hack. Yeah.
So with grant funding, we get all of this money that comes in sometimes, and sometimes it sits there.
Right.
So why not put it in an account that's going to make us or help us make more money?
Yo,
So-
it's like 4 bands a month on every M that's
Yeah,
sitting in the
that's
account.
it.
So it's like you can get paid $48,000 a year just by sitting $1 million in an account, and it's like I mean, like I don't know, like that's just like you can fund your entire lifestyle off the interest that's accumulated from that, and I didn't learn that until this year. So like I went into the bank with a I won't even disclose who because I don't want to put people's finances, but that scene I'm like okay, like they was like yeah you can just put this money in this type of account. I'm like I never knew that. So now guess what I'm doing from now on. Give me a high yield savings
Yeah,
account.
high yield.
Give me one, and I like whatever come with it. I'm taking it because at the end of the day, I want my money to be making money. Wow, that's like a residual income.
Exactly.
But it's something we have to educate ourselves on. When we walk in the bank, they don't tell
don't
us
tell you.
that. They
They
don't
don't.
tell. They put you in a standard savings account that's going to pay you 0.05%.
And they can't wait to overdraft fee
Right.
you.
Because that's how they make their
Hey,
money.
yeah.
So it's
Disputing that.
important to make sure you know what you want.
And
for
it's
your-
so funny because I feel like our community, we have gotten so great at the finesse. Like we can get any overdraft fee return. We know when to dispute stuff to get the money back. But it's like we took them same strategies to build
to get
and accumulate, like to get ahead,
out of the
get
red.
You
Yeah,
know what I'm
just
saying? It's
all
like
this, yeah.
we can actually make some traction in towards building and growing. So like I don't know. I always tell people I got something that I came up with, and I just call it DAD, like DAD, dumbass debt. Like you need to figure out how much dumbass debt you got. Like how much, because in order for you to be able to get out of debt, because some debt is like it's just like all right, I got a mortgage. This ain't dumbass debt, but it's certain things that you owe. You like this like this like why do I owe Best Buy? Why do I owe this? Why do this? So let me get rid of this dumbass debt so that I can start to build. And actually, when I'm seeing my money come in, because people think when you think about making millions, like everybody don't scale, but it's like if you just take small increment steps in towards building, and then next thing you know, you can build yourself up to get a high yield interest account. And now the money you could say, all right, I'm making $4,000 a month off this. I'm about to take that and invest it here, and this one I'm gonna do that. And now you got so much money working for you, you could get your millions that way as well, right? You feel like
yeah, absolutely.
you know what I mean? So,
Yeah, and also even the bigger thing as well is like the idea of assessing where the problems lie in the first place. So no
Yeah.
matter how much money you're getting, making sure you're able to keep it.
No, that's a fact.
Yeah, so like I said, if you're able to track like where is the dumbass debt?
Yeah,
Let me
like,
track all this down in the
dumbass-
first
yeah,
place.
facts.
I always tell people I recommend a good documentary. Shout out to the docs on
Yeah.
and it's a book though. but how to get rich. And of course, the premise or the title is basically, how can I get rich? Let me know what I gotta do. But it's really about how to not be poor. And they find a lot of people on the show that make decent money. Cause it's not about, yo, you making 40 grand, you gonna struggle. We understand how that goes. It's America. But no, if you making 70, 80, 100, even more, if you won a bunch of money from an inheritance or whatever you may do, life insurance, how can you keep that money?
Yeah.
And all these different people, different scenarios, they all show they had common things in mind where they had a lot of dumbass debt. They were going out and just spending, they had a lot of subscriptions and old credit cards they didn't even realize. And you got to be able to track all that stuff down so you can stop the bleeding and then build from there, you know, get out of the red for sure.
I like that. Yeah.